Officially opening the meetings, Prime Minister Shinzo Abe announced numerous financial packages earmarked for the continent in the next 5 years. The total envelope amounts to $32 billion in grant, which effectively gives Japan greater visibility on the continent. The package also includes $6.5 billion, which goes into infrastructural development, with additional commitments to providing scholarships to 1,000 African students and developing its human capital. $17 million of that money is channeled to phase 3 of the rural water project in the Gambia and in building strong coping strategies to natural disasters as and when they happen.
The challenge now is really to access that money. The challenge is to put it in good use. The challenge for Africa is really to meet this commitment with equal commitment from our side in terms of implementation, in terms of deploying these resources in the most important sectors that will affect our lives.
The TICAD 5 meetings drew an overwhelming international presence from the United Nations agencies to closely related work groups from around the globe.
This is an excellent timing to advance our goals. TICAD's goals are the United Nations goals. So, just as TICAD has evolved in the past to meet new needs and challenges, so it must again now.
Through the team, hand in hand with a more dynamic Africa, TICAD 5 provides impetus to boost sustainable pathways in the promotion of peace and security, inclusive and resilient societies, and robust and sustainable economies, among a host of other themes discussed at the summit.
This dialogue is very important because most of the Japanese products, in fact every African village that you go to, it is most likely that the electronic gadget that you find there would be made in Japan. Unfortunately, these products are sold by companies that are non-Japanese. So we have a problem of after-sales service, which is a major problem. So we welcome the fact that Japanese companies should really come to Africa.
The President also met with Prime Minister Shinzo Abe at the bilateral level. The meeting, attended by the ministers of the two governments, hinges primarily on improved Japan-Gambia relations.
This year marks the 20th anniversary of TICAD process, and by working hand in hand with Your Excellency, I certainly look forward to bringing TICAD 5 conference to a successful conclusion to achieve mutual development both of Japan as well as Africa.
Thanks to TICAD and Japan, today the continent that was condemned as a hopeless case is now being considered as the future of the world economy.
It was 3 days of eventful ceremonies bringing together at a different forum spouses of the leaders to discuss, forge bonds, and harmonize efforts through the Organization of African First Ladies Against HIV and AIDS. The Ofla Gambia chapter is being used by the First Lady, Her Excellency Madam Zainab Yahya Jammeh, to spur greater support and awareness towards sensitive health issues. The symposium heard from the President of Ofla, Namibia's First Lady, the wife of Ban Ki-moon, and the mayoress of Yokohama. A whole new frontiers have been opened in this great period of transformation, hosting African leaders to a wide range of events. Through the Organization of African Unity and now the African Union, which catalogue 50 years of progress, the leaders can now stand in the lines of the equals, with strong personal seal in telling the African story, which now fronts the future of global trade and investment. The challenge is to ensure that growth translates into equal opportunity for all on the continent, most especially in the Gambia, where Japanese experts could help drive growth through their networks of knowledge, development experience, and innovation. The meeting came to a memorable end on Monday with the adoption of the Yokohama Declaration, an action plan, which spell out in greater details Japan's future relations with Africa. Abdinjai, Grts.
The general public is hereby informed that Mr. Hussein Tajuddin is being declared persona non grata by the state. and is given 72 hours to leave the country. A media release says Mr. Tajuddin has been involved in undesirable business activities which have very serious health and economic consequences to the people and the state. Despite the fact that the Gambia has liberal economy, the release adds the state will not condone greedy and unscrupulous businessmen who are just after profit margins and not the welfare and well-being of consumers. Businessmen are advised to strictly adhere to the rules of engagement in the interest of their businesses, the consumers, and the state. The release ends. Members of the Gambia Women's Federation France chapter Monday held talks with the Vice President and Minister of Women's Affairs, Dr. Aissatou Njie Sedi, at State House. The visiting delegation is expected to, among other things, meet with officials of the National Women's Federation during their stay in Banjul. Mama Jai reports.
The Gambian Women's Federation was launched in November 2010 by the President of the Republic, His Excellency Sheikh Professor Alhaji Dr. Yahya Jammeh, who is also the father of the Federation. Since then, the organization has been growing with Gambian women in the diaspora, forming branches in many parts of the world, including Spain, Belgium, United Kingdom, France, and the United States. The Federation seeks, among other things, to unite the Gambian women under one umbrella with the aim of providing a platform for women's effective participation in nation building. It is against this background that the Gambian Women's Federation France chapter, the latest to join the women organization, made a trip to the country to familiarize themselves as well as visit some of the projects undertaken by the parent body. Some of the projects include the construction of a multi-purpose market complex in Sukuta, which comprises a shopping mall, fashion design outlets, clinic, a warehouse, and a host of outlets for women in agriculture-based businesses. Welcoming the delegation during a meeting at the Vice President's office on Monday evening, the Deputy Speaker and Chairperson of the National Women's Council, Honorable Fatumbai, hailed President Jammeh, the brain behind the establishment of this federation, and thanked Professor Jammeh for donating $2 million during the launch of the Federation, adding that the organization has now gained $8 million profit since 2010. This success, according to Honorable Mbai, was registered through unity and hard work by the women. The president of the Gambia Women's Federation France chapter, Ajiyama Sidibe, said forming a federation has long been their dream. Thanks to the Gambian chapter for their encouragement. The federation, which was registered in France, Mrs. Sidibe further said, has a membership of about 400 Gambian women. Ajiyama Sidibe, on behalf of the France-based federation, presented an amount of $40,000 to their parent organization as a token of appreciation and thanked President Jammeh for his tremendous achievements since 1994. Speaker after speaker, including Aji Mohamed Drame, Vice President of the France chapter, Aji Hadi Dore, Aji Mary Sow, and Aji Mariam Sise, all praised the Gambian leader for empowering the women. Aji Aduletsi also echoed similar sentiments and prayed for the leadership of the country and the success of all the women federations. The president of the Gambia Women's Federation, Fatoumata Dia, thanked the France-based chapter for the warm welcome accorded to them during their visit to France. She hailed Gambian women in France for establishing a federation in a bid to promoting the cause of women. This, he said, symbolizes the political will of the leadership of the country, and thanked President Jammeh for empowering and championing the cause of Gambian women. The Vice President and Minister of Women's Affairs, Dr. Aissatou Njie Sedi, commended the women for their hard work and dedication and urged them to remain united as a family and work as a team. Madam Njie Sedi reiterated the Gambian Women's Federation's commitment to working with all the branches towards achieving their collective goals. Dr. Njie Sedi also called on Gambian women to remain rallying behind President Jammeh for the continuous development of the country. Mama J, GRTS.
The Minister of the Environment, Parks and Wildlife has delivered a televised statement to mark World Environment Day. This year's celebration is premised on the theme Think, Eat, Save, which encourage people to become more aware of the environmental impact of the food choices they make. Here is an excerpt of the Minister's address.
For this year's celebration is Think, Eat, Save. Reduce your food print. It underscores an anti-food waste and food loss campaign that